You want to talk about the Hatch Act? Okay, bet. So, the Hatch Act is a federal law passed in 1939, and it limits the partisan political activities of federal employees and some state and local employees who work federally or work with federally funded programs. Like, what? Okay, so the law is intended to prevent federal workers from using their official authority to influence elections and to ensure that the government functions in a politically neutral, nonpartisan manner. So, who is covered by the Hatch Act? Most federal executive branch employees, including part-time postal services employees, things like that. The law applies to employees on duty in federal buildings or vehicles or using federal equipment or teleworking. Most or less restricted employees, they have fewer limitations on their political activities while on duty. Further restricted employees would include like senior career employees, administrative law judges, and employees of specific intelligence and law enforcement agencies. And these employees have additional limitations on their ability to engage in partisan political campaigns, even when they're off duty. Okay? The president and the vice president, they're not really covered by the Hatch Act. So what specifically is prohibited? They can vary by employee category and context, but they can't use their official authority or official title to influence an election. They can't solicit, accept, or receive political contributions from the public. They can't display partisan political materials in the federal workplace, things like, campaign buttons, red hats, things like that. They can't engage in political activities while on duty or in a federal building or while wearing their uniform. That would include a government vehicle or email. And they can't misuse social media for partisan political purposes while on duty, such as posting or sharing content that supports or opposes a candidate or party. So what's permitted under the Hatch Act? Federal employees can still exercise a lot of rights, particularly during their off-duty hours. They can register to vote, make financial contributions, so on and so forth. So there have been changes, as most laws go through. So in April of 2025, the U.S. Special Counsel, the Office of Special Counsel, indicated that it would stop pursuing disciplinary action against former employees, right? And if they had complaints of the Hatch Act filed against them. As of October 2nd, 2025, actually, a watchdog group filed a Hatch Act complaint against the Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, and the Small Business Administration, the SBA. The complaint alleges that agencies used official website to engage in partisan messaging by blaming congressional Democrats for potential government shutdown. And they're saying that this was a misuse of taxpayer funds. So, legislation such as the Hatch Act Accountability Act was introduced in Congress in 2021 to expand the jurisdiction to include investigating and enforcing violations by the White House political appointees. That's not yet become law. So I'm really interested. I want to keep an eye on the complaint that was just issued a couple days ago, because I think most of you all have seen it. If you haven't, you can scroll down in my feed a little bit. You'll find a post I did showing the HUD official webpage, and you can see the propaganda that was posted there. Okay, well, on a deeper dive into the Hatch Act, check this out. So, they're also saying that out-of-office emails reports noted that furloughed federal employees of some agencies were instructed to set up an automated out-of-office message that placed the blame on the shutdown squarely on Democrats' shoulders. An ethics Experts have argued that using taxpayer-funded agency websites to lobby Congress and pressure Democrats during budget negotiations could also violate the Anti-Lobbying Act. So let's check that out. So the Anti-Lobbying Act is primarily 18 U.S. Code 1913. It prohibits using appropriated federal funds for propaganda purposes to influence legislation pending in Congress. It forbids the executive branch employees from using appropriated money to support or defeat legislation through various media. And what the act prohibits: grassroots lobbying, publicity and propaganda, creating or distributing materials like pamphlets, press releases, or social media content designed to support or oppose pending legislation. Influencing legislation or using public resources or official stationery to influence that legislation. So I think, when you sign on to a web page, that's pretty much the equivalent of like stationery. It's like, online stationery. So the consequences of that kind of violation are civil penalties. Agencies may have to bear the cost of the prohibited activities or removal from office. Historically, violations could lead to fines and removal from federal employment. The question is, though, like if we're talking about what was posted on like government websites like HUD pertaining to the government shutdown, who directed that and who actually followed through and made that happen? Because that's the person that's going to be the fall guy, right? The chances of us, the White House actually being removed are pretty freaking slim. Let's face it. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me while I looked up what these acts were, because I didn't know. I never heard of them, but now I know. And now you know too, and you can go look up this stuff and share information with me if you find any. Okay, love you. Bye.